It was the normal jousting session, the Conservative leader taunting the Prime Minister about reports that cabinet ministers were jostling for position to replace him.
It's interesting how the right honourable gentleman never actually wants to discuss the issues, does he? And I wonder why.
Nothing out of the ordinary, and then...
Order. This House is now suspended. Order.
Within seconds, MPs left the chamber, brushing themselves off. No one yet clear what was happening. Something like this, completely unexpected, because new security screens have been erected in the public gallery. It looks as if 3 missiles with purple powder were thrown. One hit the Prime Minister on the back. See how the smiling faces on the front bench turn to shock as the realisation of what's happened hits home.
It's an outrageous incident. We've spent £600,000 on a screen that quite clearly hasn't worked. We have to check security on the outside of the building and not rely on people coming in and rely on physical security measures.
Obviously the screen was erected for this very eventuality, and anyone in front of that screen watching Parliament's proceedings is supposed to be personally known and signed off by a Member of Parliament as someone known to them.
As an immediate investigation began, the group Fathers for Justice claimed responsibility for the demonstration, which is all the more shocking because of the new security measures outside and inside Westminster. The last security breach was when Greenpeace protesters scaled Big Ben. This latest, deep inside the Commons itself, will provoke much greater concern. Carolyn Quinn, BBC News.
I wonder why.
He was in full flow when a noise from the public gallery turned every head. Una King, in purple, just behind the Chancellor, was closer than most.
The second thing that was thrown hit the Prime Minister quite clearly on the back. He was about a metre in front of me, and I was shocked that he had been hit.
In all, protesters threw 3 condoms filled with flour dyed purple, but MPs couldn't know what was showering the chamber.
I was like a bat out of hell. I was under the gallery, saw it come down and immediately rushed out of naked self-interest, but also to alert the police in the members' lobby.
The Prime Minister's instinct was to carry on. He thought the powder was harmless. Others nearby felt their hearts thumping.
I copped a fair amount, I got pretty much a good coating of it, so it was quite a scary moment.
Order! The House is now suspended.
MPs brushed themselves down. The Prime Minister slowly made his way to the exit, apparently lost in thought. John Prescott carefully covered up 3 purple splodges of powder with pieces of paper. I was in the press gallery, which is directly opposite the public gallery where the attack came from. And as soon as the session was suspended, the ushers began to shout, get out quickly. There wasn't exactly panic, but people did begin to worry as you could taste the powder in the air. All right, it was only flour, but the police weren't certain. They hurried to the entrance of the chamber as MPs left. What if it had been some deadly poison? Should we all have been allowed to drift off to wherever we wanted to go? The Conservative Chief Whip loudly harried people out of the Commons. But was he right?
I accept that if it was biological contamination, I made a fatal mistake. We should all have stayed there and been contaminated and not spread it further. But since the Speaker left the chair and the chamber was emptying, I thought I should get all my people out and everyone else out quickly.
The stunt was carried out by a group called Fathers for Justice. Ron Davis is one of 2 men who've been arrested. They weren't behind the new bulletproof screen because they got their tickets from a member of the Lords who'd raffled them and seemed choked with embarrassment.
I have also seen the Speaker of the House of Commons and apologised for him unreservedly and through him to all the members of the Commons.
Later, Mr. Blair was in shirt sleeves order, but only because of the weather. The jacket brushed up fine, and he made light of it all. Just a cleaning bill? Probably a profound impact on the way MPs do their business as well. Mark Modell, BBC News, Westminster.
Here's what happens when politics goes wrong. Violence explodes this afternoon as furious Hunt supporters mass outside Parliament. A native tradition going back centuries, with hours away from a vote almost certain to lead to it being banned. Another native tradition, buggery, is on display too. Is this more about liberty or beer? Either way, if only they could reach those MPs. Meanwhile, far behind the police lines in the Commons itself, something even more extraordinary was about to happen.
What are you dealing with?
Down forbidden stairs, racing past Tony Blair's private office, protesters broke into the chamber, chased by doorkeepers. No invasion like this has happened since the days of Charles I, and Down he goes, the last line of security, a man with a sword.
In the last few minutes, they've just suspended the House of Commons. The story of this afternoon is the story of a confrontation between two different kinds of power, the power on the streets and the raw anger that's been expressed in Parliament Square, and only 100 yards away, behind those stone walls, political power, the power of the Labour backbenchers. In the end, there's no doubt which is the more potent.
And when the Commons reassembled, MPs queued up to call the invaders thugs and vagabonds.
For these thugs to actually come through the chamber, despite all the security safeguards, has been unknown, I'm sure, since you've been here. I would imagine since any member has been here, and probably unknown throughout the 20th century.
It was an absolute scandal, and whoever they were and whatever argument they were trying to make, they lost the argument by making the protest which they did.
Among thousands of demonstrators, the vast majority were peaceful, if outraged, feeling their rights were being trampled by a parliamentary majority. But inside, anti-hunting MPs who easily won tonight's vote argued that this was about parliamentary democracy.
The last two elections, we have said we will bring this matter to a close. It's absolutely clear that the majority of people in this House want to see a ban on hunting.
And that's how they voted. But it's not how today will be remembered in Britain's long parliamentary history. In the middle of a war against terrorism, in the Palace of Westminster, guarded by scores of heavily armed police, protesters reached the heart of the Commons, not by violence, but easily. It's a kind of serious joke. Tonight, investigations are underway, security reviews are being promised, and Parliament's stable doors have been safely closed, long after all the horses have bolted. Andrew Marr, BBC News, Westminster.